I have wanted to watch for a couple of months now on Netflix, All Quiet on the Western Front, which is the 2022 remake. It's in German language, and basically, I don't really know the story, to be fair. I may have watched the original at school, not in the 30s, but in the school in the 80s. And basically, it is the story of the latter part of World War One, and it's got this guy called Paul. He's a young man. He's too young to sign up, but it's all exactly the same as what was in the UK. It's like the patriotism and all the leaders and their teachers. What a great pleasure and an honour it is to serve the fatherland. The opening to this film is amazing. It's got a couple of guys on the battlefield getting the uniforms off dead soldiers. They gather them up and send them back to Germany. And you follow these uniforms as they go. They get washed. They go to a lot rooms and rooms full of seamstresses who patch them all up.
Well, then gets given to one of the main characters.
Exactly. And he gets given to him. And in it, he says, he gets his kit. The commander gives him his kit. And he walks on and he goes back and he goes, "Oh, sorry, Commander. He's got someone else's name in it." And the guy goes, "Oh, yeah, he must have had that. It must have been too short for him or too tall or whatever." And he just rips it out and chucks it on the floor. And it's that kind of awful inevitability of obviously what's going to happen, because World War One was the worst war of all, wasn't it? And it followed.
Yeah. I mean, what's interesting, when I did a bit of teaching on World War One, and what kids couldn't get their head around is the fact that the mindset was like, "Oh, it'll over by Christmas."
Yeah. And again, it starts off and they go to military camp and they're all marching and they've got clean uniforms and they're bright-eyed and they're all... And then basically this group of friends... I thought... I like foreign language films, and I thought, I might not be able to take in the whole vibe of it. Like these Private Ryans and the Schindler's List and all these other war films. I know a different war, but these big war epics, 1917, for example. But no, subtitles was fine. I got really into it, and it just shows them kind of deteriorating and how the war takes its toll on them. And there's moments of sort of joy. There's the main guy Paul and his mate. He's called Kat, K-A-T. They go to a local farm and they try and steal a goose, and the farmer chases them off with his shotgun and he's shooting at them. So there's like a little bit of camaraderie, hilarity, but then it's the futility of it all. They make a little advance, and then a few days later they're pushed back again. And there's a bit where they manage to get over to a French trenches, and they get in there and there's food left over, and they're starving, as well, and they're eating this food, and the whole place is full of rats, and it's just so depressing and hard. There's one scene that I don't really want to spoil, but he kind of comes... He's running across the battlefield, something happens, and he's in like a shell crater, and he comes face to face with a French soldier, and it's what happens between the two of them. He's acting, same as what you said a minute ago. The camera stays on his face, and he's all mud-caked, and he's just exhausted, scared, and he's acting. He's amazing. He doesn't even speak, and the look on his face of just like the horror, the regret, what's happening, how scared he is, how jaded he is, how tired he is.
Is this like how's that film Come and See, which is it like does it wear you down? Is it depressing though, or is it actually gripping?
Do you know what? I'd say more gripping, because like when I watch, I don't know, Private Ryan or Schindler's List, I'm utterly exhausted by them, because this is still a long film. This is like 2 hours 20 minutes there. It is exhausting. It is awful. There's guys being blown up, and there's a second story of it's Daniel Bruhl, who you may remember. He's in some of the Marvel films, isn't he? He's Zemo, isn't he? He's a politician trying to negotiate the armistice with the French, and the French are like, "Well, take it or leave it. These are our terms," because the French kind of got the upper hand. These are our terms. And he's saying, no, we need to get an armistice today because men are dying. There's thousands of men dying a day. And the French are like, well, okay, here's our terms. If you don't like it, come back in a couple of days. And they're sort of like, and it is the tension of that. There's just one scene where you see him signing the armistice, and the way it's filmed, the scratching of the fountain pen, everything is ramped up to 11. And then quite near the end, because what is it? It's the 11th hour, the 11th day of the 11th month.
Yeah.
They're still at the victims of the commanders who are like, wait a minute, we've got half an hour left. We can still advance just a little bit in half an hour. And these are like, egotistical captains who are sat there eating cooked goose and fine wine and sweets and stuff. And then the men are just living in the trenches, in the filth. And also, it's ironic as well, because again, without spoiling it too much, but one of the guys dies almost in an accident, and you think you've got through most of the war, and then they sort of, I don't know, with the irony of life is you're on your way home and you die just through pure accidents, and it's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking. And these young men and what really sets it off is quite near the end, our main character Paul, he's properly shell-shocked and battle-hardened, and he sees this young lad who's just been brought to the front, and it's like him at the start of the film. The kid's uniform is a bit too big, he's got bright red hair, so he kind of stands out, and he's scared, and he don't know what he's doing, and you can see the difference, because only 2 hours ago this Paul was a bright-eyed young man heading out full of life. But it's excellent. The acting is excellent.
Okay, I think I need to.
Rob,
I need to try and find time for this.
It's 10 out of 10. It's equally as good as Private Ryan and all these ones I keep mentioning.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Private Ryan, I don't actually rate that highly. I mean, the opening sequence is brilliant, but once they go on the men on a mission bit, I kind of lose interest a little bit.
It's these epic war films, isn't it? Like 1917, that's an excellent film as well. These epic war films, and of course, this is a Netflix film. I don't know if it was theatrically released, but I don't believe it has the budget of.
I think it had a cinematic release, and then it was on Netflix, and I think they're pushing it back out for another little cinematic release again, because it's doing well in Oscar and BAFTA nominations, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, it's proper essential watching them, and of course it's not the kind of it's not like a Marvel film where you say, oh great, 10 out of 10, Infinity War is amazing or Endgame is amazing, and you can watch that 10 times. I won't want to watch this film again. I mean, I might do a year, in a year's time, to remind myself to watch a really good war film. But it's excellent. It's excellent, but sad, exhausting, tiring, shocking, joyous at times when they have their little moments of, there's a scene where they see some French women, farmers' daughters, and one of the guys goes and chats to him, and he comes back with a woman's scarf, and the way they act it's like the promise of home, of love, of life, and they can smell the girl's perfume on it, and all the men are like, oh, it reminds me I've got a girlfriend at home and all that, and that how desperate they are to be home, but their lives are just like pawns to be wasted. It's excellent. It's really good. I can highly recommend it.
If you've enjoyed this video, please give us a subscribe.